The invitation arrived in a gold envelope. Not just any gold. This one shimmered like it had something to prove. I almost threw it away, but then I saw the name. Her name. And suddenly, the past I had buried so deeply clawed its way back to the surface. Before we dive in, I want to know something real quick. Where are you watching Stone Tales from today? Drop your country or city in the comments. I read them. And if you love powerful stories about betrayal, revenge, and unexpected comebacks, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let me tell you how the woman who once called me worthless ended up regretting it in front of hundreds of people. Her name was Vanessa Cole, and once upon a time, she was my entire world. Back then, I wasn't the man I am today. No money, no connections, no power, just dreams, big ones. I was working as a junior mechanic in a small auto shop on the outskirts of the city. My hands were always covered in grease. My clothes smelled like engine oil, and my bank account barely survived the end of each month. But I had something rare. I had vision. I used to stay up late at night sketching ideas, designs for automotive systems, efficiency models, things I believed could change the industry. People laughed when I talked about them, including her. Vanessa came from a different world, elegant, beautiful, ambitious in a way that was sharp, almost dangerous. She didn't just want success. She demanded it. And at first, she believed I could give it to her. We met in a small cafe. She spilled coffee on my notebook. That's how it started. She apologized, we laughed, and somehow we kept talking. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Before I knew it, she was sitting beside me in my tiny apartment, listening to my ideas, smiling like she actually believed in me. "I see something in you," she once said. I held on to those words like they were oxygen. But belief has an expiration date, and love can turn into something cold when ambition takes over. The shift didn't happen overnight. It was slow, subtle, dangerous. At first, it was little comments. "Why don't you just get a real job?" "You're always dreaming, but what are you actually doing?" "My friends don't understand what you do." Then came the comparisons. "Do you know Mark just bought his third car? Jessica's boyfriend just got promoted again." Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one moving forward. Each word chipped away at me. But I stayed because I loved her, because I believed one day I'd prove her wrong. Then came the night everything changed. It was her birthday. She threw a party. Big one. Rich friends. Expensive wine. Designer clothes everywhere. I didn't belong there. I knew it the moment I walked in. The way people looked at me, like I was a stain on an otherwise perfect room. But I stayed. For her, at some point, Vanessa grabbed a glass and tapped it with a spoon. The room went quiet. She smiled. That same smile I once thought meant everything. "I just want to say something tonight," she began. Her voice was light, careless. "I'm grateful for everyone here, for people who are actually building something with their lives." There were laughs, soft ones. Then she looked at me, directly at me. "And some people," she continued, her tone shifting, "are still stuck dreaming, still trying to figure it out." More laughter, louder this time. I felt it. That burning feeling in your chest when you realize you've just been humiliated in front of everyone. She raised her glass. To growth, she said, and everyone cheered, except me. I left that night, without saying a word, without looking back. The next day, she didn't call, not once, not even a message, and that told me everything. So I made a decision. If the world saw me as nothing, then I'd become something they couldn't ignore. I disappeared, not physically, but from her life, from that circle, from everything that reminded me of who I used to be. The next few years, they weren't easy. There were nights I slept in my car, days I skipped meals, moments I almost gave up. But I didn't, because every time I felt weak, I remembered that room, that laughter, that look on her face. And slowly, things started to change. One idea led to another. One opportunity opened a door. A small investment turned into something bigger, then unstoppable. I built a system, an automotive efficiency model that reduced fuel waste in commercial transport fleets. At first, no one cared. Then one company took a chance. Then 5, then 50. Within 5 years, I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was leading. My name started appearing in business circles, magazines, panels, conferences. People who once ignored me now wanted meetings, partnerships, deals. And Vanessa, she became a memory, a distant one. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Until that envelope arrived, I stared at it for a long time. My name written in elegant script. Inside, a wedding invitation. Vanessa Cole and Richard Hensley. Richard, I knew that name. Everyone did. Old money, massive wealth, influence that reached places most people couldn't even imagine. Of course, she had leveled up, just like she always wanted. But then I saw something else. A handwritten note at the bottom. I thought it would be nice for you to see how far I've come. Hope you can make it. Vanessa, I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was exactly what I expected. She wasn't inviting me out of kindness. She was inviting me to remind me of who I used to be. The poor ex. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, throwing it away, moving on. But then something inside me shifted. No, if she wanted me there, then I'd be there. Just not in the way she expected. The wedding was set at a luxury estate just outside the city. Private, exclusive, the kind of place where even the air feels expensive. On the day of the event, everything was perfectly arranged. White roses, crystal chandeliers, guests arriving in luxury cars, men in tailored suits, women in designer gowns. Vanessa stood at the center of it all, radiant, confident, exactly where she believed she belonged. And as guests gathered, she smiled, she laughed, she played the part perfectly. But every now and then, she glanced at the entrance, waiting, because part of her wanted me to be there, not to celebrate, but to witness, to see what she had become. And finally, a car pulled up. Not just any car, a sleek, black, luxury vehicle, the kind that turns heads without trying. Guests began to whisper, "Who is that? Do you know him? Must be important." The door opened. I stepped out. Clean suit, sharp lines, confidence that didn't need to speak. At first, no one recognized me, but Vanessa did. And the moment her eyes met mine, everything changed. Her smile froze just for a second. But I saw it. Confusion, shock, disbelief, because the man walking toward her was not the man she remembered. I moved through the crowd calmly. People stepped aside without knowing why. Then I stopped, right in front of her. "Vanessa," I said, my voice steady. She blinked. Once, twice. "Oh, you came," she replied. I gave a small smile. "You invited me." There was silence. Heavy, uncomfortable. Richard stepped forward. Tall, polished, confident. "And you are?" he asked. Before I could answer, Vanessa spoke. Quickly, almost too quickly. "He's an old friend." Friend. I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw something I never thought I would. Uncertainty. I nodded slowly. "Yeah," I said, "something like that." The ceremony was about to begin. Guests were taking their seats. Music started playing softly in the background. I walked toward the back, took a seat, watched everything unfold. Vanessa walked down the aisle, perfect, flawless, like nothing had ever touched her. But her eyes, they kept drifting back to me, as if she couldn't understand what she was seeing. And then, right before the vows, something unexpected happened. A man approached me, one of the event coordinators, nervous, respectful. "Sir," he whispered, "there's been a request." I looked at him. "A request?" I asked. He nodded, swallowed hard. "They've asked if you could move." I frowned slightly. "To where?" He hesitated, then said quietly, "To the staff section." Silence. For a moment, I didn't react. Then I looked up, across the aisle, straight at Vanessa, and she didn't look away. In fact, she was watching me closely, as if waiting to see what I would do. And that's when I realized something. This wasn't over, not even close, because the real reason she invited me had nothing to do with the past. It was about control, about power. And she thought she still had it. I stood up slowly, adjusted my suit, and smiled. "Of course," I said calmly, but inside, something had just shifted. Because in that exact moment, I made a decision. If she wanted a show, then I was about to give her one she would never forget. And what happened next would stop the entire wedding. The music didn't stop. The guests didn't notice. But something had already changed. I followed the event coordinator quietly, step by step, away from the polished marble aisle, away from the white roses, away from the seats reserved for people who belonged. He led me to the back, near the service area, where waiters stood, where staff whispered, where people like the old me were expected to stay. "Here is fine, sir," he said nervously. I nodded. "Perfect," but I didn't sit. Instead, I checked my watch. 10:42 a.m. Right on time. Because while Vanessa thought she was controlling this moment, she had no idea. This entire day had already been rewritten. Back at the altar, the officiant smiled. "Shall we begin?" Vanessa took a breath, composed herself, returned to her perfect image. But her eyes flickered again, toward me, toward the back, still trying to understand, still trying to measure who I had become. "Dearly beloved," the officiant began, and that's when it happened. At first, it was just a sound, low, distant, a rumble in the sky. Some guests looked up, confused. The sound grew louder, closer, a deep, powerful roar that didn't belong to the peaceful luxury of a wedding. "What is that?" someone whispered. The officiant paused. Even Richard turned his head, annoyed. And Vanessa, she frowned, because she felt it. Something was off. Then a shadow passed over the entire estate. Guests gasped. A massive private jet flew low across the property. Sleek, black, dominant. It wasn't supposed to be there. The roar filled the air, powerful, unignorable. And then it circled. Once, twice. People stood up now, phones out, whispers turning into loud confusion. "Whose jet is that? Is this part of the wedding? That's not normal." Vanessa's heart was racing now. You could see it in her face, because deep down, she already knew. The jet made one final pass before disappearing into the distance, and then silence, heavy, uncomfortable. The officiant cleared his throat. For a moment there, I thought we were part of an air show. He joked weakly. Some guests laughed nervously. "Shall we continue?" he asked. Richard nodded, impatient. Vanessa forced a smile, but the moment was broken. And just as the officiant opened his mouth again, another interruption. This time from the ground. A convoy of black SUVs rolled into the estate, one after another, perfectly synchronized. They weren't part of the wedding. Everyone could tell. Security froze. Staff exchanged looks. Guests turned fully now. The vehicles stopped. Doors opened. Men in tailored suits stepped out. Professional, calm, focused. Not guests, not staff. Something else. And then one of them walked directly toward me. Every step was deliberate. The entire wedding watched. He stopped in front of me, lowered his head slightly. "Sir," he said clearly, "everything is ready." The words echoed louder than the jet ever could. A ripple spread through the crowd. Vanessa's face went pale. Richard frowned deeply. "What is this?" he demanded, but no one answered him, because at that moment, all eyes were on me. I adjusted my cuffs slowly, calmly. Then I stepped forward, not toward the back, but straight down the aisle. The same aisle I was just told I didn't belong in. People moved aside instinctively, not because they recognized me, but because something about the moment demanded it. I walked past rows of stunned faces, past whispers that had now turned into silence, until I reached the front. Vanessa stood frozen, her perfect world cracking in real time. "Vanessa," I said softly. Her lips parted slightly. "Ah, what is going on?" I looked around, at the decorations, at the guests, at the life she had built, then back at her. "You wanted me to see how far you've come," I said. She swallowed. "Yes," I nodded slowly. "So I came." Richard stepped forward, anger rising. "I don't know what kind of stunt this is, but you need to—" "Richard," a voice cut him off. One of the suited men stepped closer, calm, collected. "You might want to let him finish." Richard blinked, confused. "Excuse me?" he snapped. The man didn't raise his voice, didn't change his tone. "Because," he continued, "you're currently speaking to the man who just acquired your company." Silence. Absolute silence. You could hear the wind. Richard laughed. Short. Dismissive. "That's not funny." "No," I said. "It's not." I reached into my jacket, pulled out a folder, the same kind Vanessa once held over me. "Divorce papers." Power. Control. Only this time, it wasn't symbolic. I handed it to him. His hands hesitated, then took it, flipped it open. And as his eyes scanned the pages, his expression changed, color drained, confidence collapsed. This, this isn't, it's finalized, I said calmly. Signed early this morning. Vanessa's breath caught. What company? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I looked at her directly. Hensley Holdings. Her world stopped. Because that was everything. Richard's empire. His power. His identity. Gone. I didn't just build something, I continued. I built something bigger. The crowd was completely silent now. I built a system your husband's company couldn't compete with, I said. So they tried to buy me? I paused. I bought them instead. A gasp moved through the audience. Vanessa stepped back slightly. No, she whispered. Yes, I took a step closer. Not aggressively, just enough. You wanted me to see your success, I said. Her eyes filled with something new, not arrogance, not pride, fear. I wanted you to see mine. Tears formed in her eyes now, because she finally understood. The man she laughed at, the man she humiliated, the man she called nothing, was standing in front of her as everything she had ever chased, and more. Richard's voice broke. This is impossible. Not really, I said. You just underestimated the wrong person. He looked at Vanessa. Anger, confusion, blame. But she couldn't even meet his eyes, because her past had just walked into her future and destroyed it. The officiant stepped back awkwardly. The wedding. Forgotten. Guests whispered now. Loud. Uncontrolled. Is this real? He owns the company now. That's insane. I turned back to Vanessa, and for a moment, it was just us, like before, except everything was different. You didn't believe in me, I said quietly. A tear rolled down her cheek. I didn't know, she whispered. I nodded. That's the point. Silence stretched between us. Then she did something unexpected. She stepped forward, closer. Is it too late? She asked. The question hit harder than anything else, not because I didn't expect it, but because I did. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger, just clarity. You didn't want me when I had nothing, I said. She closed her eyes briefly. I was wrong, she said. I gave a small, almost sad smile. Exactly. Then I stepped back, and just like that, it was over. Not with shouting, not with revenge, but with truth. I turned, walked away, the same way I had years ago. But this time, there was no laughter behind me, only silence, heavy, regret-filled silence. As I reached the exit, the same man who greeted me earlier spoke again. The jet is ready, sir. I nodded, and without looking back, I left. Weeks later, the story spread everywhere. News outlets, social media, business circles. The poor ex who bought the groom's company. People loved it, but they didn't understand it, because it was never about revenge. It was about becoming so powerful that the past no longer had control over you. As for Vanessa, I heard she called multiple times. I never answered, because some doors, once closed, should stay that way. Never let someone define your worth when you're still building it. The same people who laugh at your beginning will one day struggle to understand your ending. And sometimes the greatest revenge is simply becoming who they said you never could be. If this story moved you, you already know what to do. Stay with Stone Tales. There's always another story waiting.